Welcome to the Lead Well podcast. Around here, we believe leadership shouldn't cost you your peace, your well-being, or the parts of yourself you've worked so hard to reclaim. I'm your host, Trasetta Washington, leadership wellness coach and strategist, and my mission is to give you practical, actionable steps to reduce overwhelm, lead more effectively, and build a sustainable rhythm for both your team and your life. Let's dive into today's conversation. Hey leaders, welcome back to the Lead Well podcast. Now today I want to talk about something that often catches leaders off guard, especially leaders of teams that are performing well on paper. Here's the truth. Performance does not automatically mean health. What do I mean by that? Some teams look really strong on the outside, but those are often the ones that are most at risk for breaking down behind the scenes. Performance does not actually equal health. There are many teams that are hitting deadlines, they're meeting goals, they're delivering results, but that doesn't mean that the team is actually well. It means they're capable, and capability can hide a lot. Teams can perform at a high level for a very long time while quietly absorbing strain until something actually gives, something buckles, something folds. Those high-performing teams tend to end up getting more responsibility because they're trusted, they're reliable. They're the ones that leaders lean on when things get tight. And over time, that trust ends up turning into over-reliance because the same people keep carrying more simply because they can. Now, from the outside, things look smooth, right? But underneath the surface, there may be exhaustion, frustration, or even quiet resentment. People start doing work that really isn't theirs. And then they stop, waving the white flag or raising concerns because it just feels easier to them to not do that. They push through because they know that the team is dependent upon them and, the work gets done, but the cost of that work keeps rising. And one of the biggest contributors to team breakdown is emotional labor that goes unrecognized, right? This looks like having to manage personalities or smoothing out conflict, even anticipating needs, or having to carry the emotional tone of the team, having to be the one who tries to set the atmosphere. And this labor really isn't acknowledged. Not only that, it's not supported and it's not evenly distributed. It usually falls on the shoulders of one or two people. It just becomes expected because that's what's been done. And, most leaders don't intend to create these kind of conditions, but there's blind spots. And, here are a few of the common ones that I see in leadership. One is assuming that silence means that everything's fine. This is especially dangerous if you've had individuals on your team who used to speak up and now have gone silent. Another one is relying on your high performers without checking in with them about what their capacity is. 9 times out of 10, they're not going to say no. They're just going to figure out how to make it work. And the last one I'll highlight is confusing competence with sustainability. Right? And that really goes in alignment with capacity as well. Just because someone is competent, just because they can do something, does not mean they're going to be able to do that maintain that same level of work sustainably. We can all push through during busy seasons. We can all push through when we need to, but if we have to work at that same level, that push through level consistently, we're setting up our team and ourselves for burnout. Because if you don't take the time to pause and look underneath the surface, look beneath the performance that you're seeing from your team, that strain is going to build up in your team quietly. And over time, the dynamics are going to shift. You're going to have some people who are over functioning, right? They're taking on too much. You're going to have other members of your team start to pull back. And then conversation becomes guarded instead of being open like you really desire it to be. Your team will still function, but that connection will start to weaken. And every team, I don't care how well the team performs, every team has a silent workload. It's the things that don't show up on a task list. It's covering gaps, fixing mistakes and not saying anything about it. It's answering questions that no one else answers. It's carrying that emotional weight. And when that workload isn't visible, it's difficult to manage. Matter of fact, you can't manage it. If you don't see it, you can't manage it. So strong skills, while, they're great and they're necessary, we need them, it's not going to protect your team from burnout or breakdown. In fact, teams that are skilled are often able to tolerate dysfunction longer because they're able to compensate because of the fact that they are highly skilled. But again, compensation is not the same as health. High performance is not the same as team health. Eventually, even the strongest teams are going to hit a limit. So here's some signs that your team is starting to head towards trouble. These are just a few of the early warning signs that leaders tend to miss. Number one, there's an increase in tension or irritability with your team members. Number two, you get more questions that are coming to you instead of the team handling them within among themselves. Three, there is a decrease in initiative. People who once took things on and took initiative start backing down. They're coming to you. Number four, there is a subtle disengagement, right? There's that pullback, the quiet quitting. And the last one that I'll highlight, number five, is you start to see more mistakes. You start to experience having to redo work regularly or much more often. Now, I have to say this, none of these things mean failure, right? You are not a failure. Your team is not a failure. None of this means failure. It just simply means that your team needs some support. And recognizing those early warning signs can help you to avoid your team getting to the place where they are burning out. The goal here isn't to wait until conflict shows up or you experience turnover. You want to notice those patterns early and then respond with intention. So if you as a leader pay attention to how the team is working together, not just what they're producing, but how they're working together, now you can intervene from a place of prevention rather than being reactive. You want to shift out of firefighting mode into fire prevention. So here's what you can do right now to shift things. First is to start by checking in with your team members. I'm not talking about checking up, looking to see if they're getting things done. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about checking in with them. Have individual conversations, or you can do it in a team meeting where you clarify each individual's roles and what the expectations are. You can ask them where work feels heavy, where they feel overloaded. Pay attention, start to notice who on the team is carrying the heaviest load, who's carrying the most, who's holding on to the majority of the work. And the number one thing that you can do is to create a space for your team members to have honest conversation. Honest conversation about how they feel, what their workload is, what's frustrating them, where there's friction. Because again, if you don't know what's happening, then you can't fix it. You can't manage what you don't know. And don't assume that the team is going to fix it on their own. You are the leader. You are the one who was tasked or charged with ensuring the health of your team. And this is exactly why I created the Teamwork Tuneup. It is a structured, facilitated experience that I designed to strengthen teams from the inside out before breakdown turns into burnout, conflict, or turnover. Now, the Teamwork Tuneup focuses on 5 core pillars. And after working with hundreds of leadership teams, I identified these 5 key areas were the places where I saw that teams were breaking down the most. Number 1 is trust. The second one is communication. Third, collaboration. Fourth is performance. And fifth is team well-being, right? This gives teams the language, structure, and tools to work better together, not just harder. Now, if you're listening to this and you're realizing that your team is experiencing some communication gaps, that there's friction, overwhelm, or maybe they're depending upon you more than they should, I would love to support you. You can learn more about the Teamwork Tuneup Intensive and explore bringing me to train your team using the link inside of the show notes. It's one of the most effective ways to strengthen trust, communication, collaboration, performance, and team well-being from the inside out. All right. So head to the link in the show notes. You can learn all about the Teamwork Tuneup and the different ways that I can work with you and or your team in order to build a strong team, right? Strong teams don't just perform well. They are supported well. That is the key to keeping them performing well and being well. All right. So until next time, lead well and live well.